quiet kind of heartbreak that doesn't begin with cruelty. It begins with kindness. Someone sees you, listens to you, praises your empathy and makes you feel special for being the sort of person who cares deeply. And then, slowly, that same tenderness gets turned against you. What once felt like love becomes obligation. What once felt like connection becomes control. That's how narcissists weaponize compassion. They take your best qualities, your sensitivity, your loyalty, your desire to understand, and they use them as tools to keep you compliant. And I've sat with countless women who've lived this cycle, and I've known it myself. Women who pride themselves on being kind, they try harder, they listen longer, and they love more deeply. And one day they wake up feeling small, drained, and unsure where their own needs went. This is for you if you've ever wondered how love turned into exhaustion, why you feel guilty for wanting peace, or why leaving someone who hurts you feels like betrayal. Let's unravel that together. Narcissistic dynamics rarely start with obvious abuse. They start with idealization. The narcissist mirrors your values and reflects your light back to you and convinces you that you've finally found someone who gets you. At first you feel safe, but that safety's conditional. Soon love becomes something that you have to prove by forgiving, by understanding, and by putting their feelings first. Every time you meet that demand, the line moves a little bit further. You're not imagining it. They're training you to equate compassion with submission. And if you try to assert a boundary, you're told you're cold or selfish. If you express hurt, you're accused of overreacting. You begin to believe that being a good person means tolerating everything. And that's how love turns into control. Not through violence, but through emotional conditioning. When you live in this kind of emotional climate, your nervous system adapts. It becomes attuned to the other person's moods, micro-expressions and tone shifts. You're constantly scanning. Are they okay? Am I safe? This hyper-attunement floods your body with stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. You might feel jittery, tense or exhausted, and over time your own needs start to register as threats. You even might think, what do I need right now? Even thinking, what do I need right now can trigger guilt or anxiety, and that's trauma conditioning. Your body's learnt that peace only exists when the other person is pleased, and that's why breaking free from a narcissist feels so physically difficult. It's not just emotional dependence, it's a biochemical bond reinforced by intermittent reinforcement, like short bursts of affection followed by withdrawal or criticism. And those cycles create powerful surges of dopamine, and that keeps you hooked on hate. Although most people recognise this pattern in romantic relationships, it can appear anywhere. In families, the narcissistic parent may use guilt and obligation instead of affection. They might say, you wouldn't abandon me after all I've done for you. In friendships, it sounds like, you're the only one who understands me, I'd be lost without you. And at work it might be, I know you'll handle this, you're so capable, which really means I'm dumping the emotional labour onto you. Each situation runs on the same currency. Empathy is leverage. And if you're the kind of person who feels responsible for other people's feelings, you become an ideal target. The more conscientious you are, the more they can demand. Because society praises women for self-sacrifice, the manipulation often hides in plain sight. But every survivor reaches a moment where something inside whispers, this isn't love. It might be subtle, it might be a small boundary you try to set that sparks disproportionate rage, or a realisation that you're always apologising even though you know you've done nothing wrong, or that your laughter has become rare and your body's perpetually tense. That whispers your nervous system remembering itself. You start to notice the pattern, the charm, the chaos, the calm that never lasts. You start to see the manipulation behind the guilt trips, and slowly clarity returns. But clarity brings pain with it. You see the truth of the relationship and the truth of how much of yourself you've given away, and that's when grief begins. Leaving a narcissist, even setting firm boundaries, often feels worse before it feels better, because you're not just letting go of a person, you're letting go of a fantasy that they created. You grieve the hope that your empathy could heal them. You grieve the version of yourself who believed that love could fix what only accountability can. This grief is complicated by shame. How did I fall for that? Why did I not see it sooner? But manipulation isn't stupidity, it's a trauma response. Your compassion was used against you. That doesn't make you naive, it makes you human. Healing begins when you can hold both truths, that you were exploited and that you are doing your best to love well. To rebuild your sense of self, you have to re-educate your nervous system. Start with small no's. Decline tiny requests that drain you. Notice how your body reacts, the spike of anxiety, the urge to justify, and breathe through it. Your brain is learning that boundaries aren't dangerous, they're acts of self-trust. Next, reconnect with your own preferences. When you've lived in someone else's emotional orbit, it takes time to remember what you like, what you believe, and what you want. Ask yourself daily, what would feel nourishing right now? It could be silence, laughter, nature, art, or solitude, and each honest answer is a thread pulling you back to yourself. One of the saddest consequences of narcissistic abuse is that kind people start to doubt their own goodness. They fear becoming cold or cynical. But the goal isn't to stop being compassionate, it's to become discerning. Healthy compassion includes boundaries. It says, I can care about your pain without abandoning myself. True empathy has to flow both ways, or it isn't empathy, it's control. The work is learning to give compassion where it can be received responsibly, not exploited. That's what maturity looks like. Love without martyrdom, kindness without surrender. Many women discover through therapy that their vulnerability to manipulation began in childhood. Maybe love was conditional. You are praised for being helpful, quiet, accommodating. Maybe conflict meant rejection. That little girl learned that safety equals compliance. She grew up to be the woman who apologises for existing. Child work helps bridge that gap. You begin to tell your inner child you don't have to earn love anymore. You're already enough. And that message, repeated gently and consistently, rewires your internal world. As your inner child feels safer, your adult self grows stronger. You stop mistaking intensity for intimacy and guilt for responsibility. After narcissistic relationships, many women swing between isolation and overtrust. Healing means learning that not everyone will harm you. Not everyone deserves full access to you. Start by building micro-trusts with people who respect your boundaries, listen without an agenda, and celebrate your autonomy. Notice how your body feels in their presence. Safety has a physical signature. Your breath deepens, your shoulders drop, your laughter comes easily. These sensations are proof that genuine connection doesn't demand self-erasure. Eventually, you stop defining yourself by what happened to you and start defining yourself by how you've grown. You've become someone who sees red flags early, who doesn't apologise for needing respect, who recognises manipulation for what it is. You begin to understand that your empathy is a superpower, but only when directed wisely. You no longer try to rescue people who don't want to change. You channel your compassion into relationships that are reciprocal, creative, and life-affirming. That's when love stops being control and becomes collaboration. If you're still listening, and realising that you're in a relationship like this, I just want you to know that awareness is the first act of freedom. You don't have to leave overnight. Start by documenting patterns privately. Reach out for some support from someone safe. That could be a counsellor like me, a friend, or a helpline. Your safety matters more than their approval, and you deserve to feel calm in your own home. This kind of deep unravelling takes time. The nervous system heals slowly, the heart even slower. But every boundary, every truth spoken aloud, and every moment of self-care reclaims a piece of you. That's the work I do with women every day, helping them come back to themselves after coercive, narcissistic, or relationships where they felt like they had to be silent. We focus on regulating the body, rebuilding trust and intuition, and learning to love without losing yourself. If what I've described feels painfully familiar, you don't have to navigate it alone. You can find me at kellyoliverdougal.co.uk, and together we can start the work of helping your nervous system feel safe again, because love should never be a leash, and compassion should never be a cage. You deserve relationships where your empathy is cherished, not consumed. Take a deep breath. You're allowed to be kind and free. That's what real healing feels like.